We have a React application that renders a list of cart items. To get the data for that list, our app component makes a GET request to API/cart endpoint using fetch. However, when we switch to the browser, we can see that there is no data and the cart is empty. By opening the DevTools, it becomes evident that the response status code was 404 because the endpoint we're requesting doesn't exist. Let's mock this API communication using the mock service worker library. First, let's go back to our project and open the terminal. Type npm install msw to install the msw package into our project. In a browser, msw uses a service worker to intercept the request our application makes and respond with the mocked data. To get that worker script, run npx msw init command and provide a path to the public directory of your app. In this tutorial, we're using create React app, which has its public directory in the folder called public. Once this command is done, we can go to the public directory and locate the mockserviceworker.js file there. Next, let's create a folder called mocks that will contain everything related to API mocking and a file in it called browser.js to describe what API endpoints should be mocked. In the browser.js file, import setup worker and REST from the msw package. Create a worker instance that equals to setup worker function call and call worker.start to activate the service worker. To target a request, we need to create a request handler for it. Let's go back to the setup worker call and provide it with REST because we are mocking a RESTful API, .get function call because we are targeting a GET request. This request handler accepts two arguments, a request URL, API/cart, and a function that returns a mocked response, also called a response resolver function. This response resolver accepts three arguments, captured request, response composition, and context utilities. To return a mocked response, return the res function call from the response resolver. When called without any arguments, the res function produces a successful empty response. To enable API mocking, we need to tell our application to execute this file on runtime. To do that, go to the root of the app, the index.js file, and require the browser.js module there. We don't want to mock API in production, so let's make sure we're requiring the module conditionally, only when developing. Save the changes and go to the browser's DevTools to see that MSW has been activated and now responds to the API/cart request with 200 status code. What sets MSW apart from the other API mocking tools is the ability to see the entire request history from the network tab of your browser. That's because MSW intercepts requests on the network level and not the application level, so that your app communicates with a service worker the same way it would do with an actual server. Let's conclude this tutorial by returning some data in the mocked response. Go back to the browser.js module. To send a JSON as a mock response body, use the context.json utility function and provide it the JSON you would like to respond with. Using the context.json utility automatically appends all the necessary headers on the response, such as a content type header. Save the changes to see our app rendering some gorgeous cart items. If we inspect the request, we can see that the response content type was application JSON and its body was the JSON we've specified. So whenever our application performs a request, it gets matched against all the request handlers we have. When there is a match, MSW executes a response resolver function and uses the mock response it returns as the actual response our application receives.